So let's get kicked off with the news of Dominic Raab. He's decided to resign. Here he is. I resign, he said. Let's see what he actually said. He tweeted out his resignation statement at about 10 o'clock this morning. I'm writing to resign from your government, he wrote to Rishi. Following receipt of a report arising from the inquiry conducted by Adam Tully KC, I called for the inquiry and undertook to resign. If it made any findings of bullying whatsoever, I believe it is important to keep my word. It's a privilege, blah, 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 and so on. But the next paragraph was more important. While I feel duty bound to accept the outcome of the inquiry, it dismissed all but two of the claims leveled against me. So he's trying to say that he's not a bully at all. I also believe its two adverse findings are flawed and set a dangerous precedent for the conduct of good government. First, ministers must be able to exercise direct oversight with respect to senior officials over critical negotiations conducted on behalf of the British people. Otherwise, the democratic and constitutional principle of ministerial responsibility will be lost. This was particularly true during my time as Foreign Secretary in the context of Brexit negotiations over Gibraltar, when a senior diplomat breached the mandate agreed by the cabinet. So he's attempting to justify his position. But look, other than the distraction that it is, there is an important point here, and that is that since Tony Blair, the relationship between ministers, secretaries of state, and civil servants has changed. And this idea of collective responsibility and ministerial responsibility was more or less lost from that point because policy became, rather than the decision of the minister, the decision of the civil servants. And the minister's role purely is to sell that policy to the public these days. But I don't know what your thoughts are.
I'm just wondering if this is some Tory Machiavellian elimination exercise because somebody's challenging for somebody's leadership position or some power dynamic going on within the Machiavellian Conservative Party. What do you think?
It's very possible. I mean, it is very possible. I don't really quite grasp it. Anyway, we'd lost our Deputy Prime Minister, and it's a real shame. I'm extremely sorry, as I'm sure everybody can tell. But anyway, let's get on to some better news. And here is Children's Health Defence. JFK Jr. launches his presidential campaign, vows to reduce chronic disease in children. So this, of course, was on Wednesday. Kennedy, Children's Health Defence founder and chairman on leave, spoke for nearly 2 hours and covered a wide range of issues, everything from his family's history in American politics to the military-industrial complex to widespread censorship and to the attacks on civil liberties, the environment and public health. So let's just have a look at a short clip here from the first couple of minutes first minute or so at least, of his announcement.
I've come here today to announce my candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. My mission over the next 18 months of this campaign and throughout my presidency will be to end the corrupt merger of state and corporate power that is threatening now to impose a new kind of corporate feudalism on our country, to commoditize our children, our Purple Mountain's majesty, to poison our children and our people with chemicals and pharmaceutical drugs, to strip mine our assets, to hollow out the middle class, and keep us in a constant state of war.
Okay, so Patrick told me that I said JFK Jr. there. I do apologize for that. Of course, that was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So just to clarify that. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that. It's getting a fairly positive response in the chat box for sure.
Yeah, well, we knew he was gonna announce his run, and he was likely gonna do it. But it's one thing to say it and think it, and it's another thing to see him there with Kennedy 2024. And as you can imagine, Mike, and I think for British people as well, the entire Anglophone world, that there's a bit of an emotional attachment to that because of the JFK issue. So emotive. a lot of people believe that history took a wrong turn after the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And of course, Robert F. Kennedy's Jr.'s father, Robert Kennedy, was running for president in '68 and was assassinated as well. So it is an emotional thing. I think it really resonates with a lot of people in America, just on a basic level. Now, to get to the reality of party politics, that's another question. So here's the thing. Joe Biden's been waffling about confirming whether he's going to run for a second term.
Right.
He keeps dragging his heels. Oh, we're not sure yet. He's babbling, mumbling, and things like that. His wife is doing apology interviews for him, not confirming. So why is this? Now RFK has jumped in the race. Now Biden has to say, they have to say something really soon. And I think the reason they were dragging their feet is because they have a replacement for Biden, who they will bring in at a later date. But they don't want to announce it too early because some other Democrats might come in and want to challenge as well. And the Democrats like a nice, tidy, fixed race. So they'll allow for some plurality. But at the end of the day, the DNC always chooses ahead of time, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, who is going to be their candidate. They'll go through the motions, make it look like it's a fair game. But so I think this is going to put pressure on the White House. And Joe Biden's a lame duck. So all of the legislation, everything that he wants to do as a president, as soon as he says he's not running, he's a lame duck, and it will really weaken the legislative efforts of whatever the Democrats think they can do in the next 18 months. Right. So this is really massive. Now the attacks have already started. And anti-vaxxer, Robert F. Kennedy, the headlines are really shameful, Mike. Anti-vaxxer and conspiracy theorist RFK announces he's running for a Democratic nomination. So it's just going to be one after another. They'll find sex scandals. They'll drag out old Kennedy family members who don't like him, saying bad things about him. But look, the people who support Trump resonated with a lot of what RFK said in that speech. And there's a lot of Democrats that feel totally disenchanted and feel left out of the process and ignored. There's a lot of Republicans as well that are sort of more, moderate centrist Republicans. They're going to resonate with JFK, even if
RFK.
You did it to me.
Yeah, I did it to you.
It's contagious. So they're going to resonate with his message. So what does that mean? That means that 6%, what Jill Stein got in 2016, that was enough to potentially swing the election to Trump. So, whatever, if he goes independent, if he stays in the race, they're probably going to railroad him out during the primaries. Okay. But if he stays in for the distance, he could actually be the game changer. Donald Trump could also offer him a vice presidential ticket. That's not completely out of the realms of possibility, considering how cutthroat and cannibalizing the Republican Party currently is.
You think he would accept?
It has happened before. The last unity ticket was Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, but what I mean is, would he accept an offer from Trump?
I'm sure he would. I'm positive he would. It would be some kind of a unity ticket. This happened after the Civil War, by the way. So it has happened. And America's in a very tumultuous situation right now, Mike. So I wouldn't rule anything out. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns coming, a lot of unexpected truth bombs and scandals that are going to be dropped as well. But, and Gavin Newsom, that could be the replacement for Biden. Kennedy is a very good contrast to Newsom. But it means that the vaccine issue can be raised now. And it's going to actually put pressure on Trump to address Operation Warp Speed, because that's a sore point with Trump supporters.
And just as a final comment, I did notice no teleprompter.
No teleprompter.
So when Joe Biden can do that, maybe that would qualify him a bit more to be president for a second term.
So that was impressive. So it was from the heart. That was one of the best political speeches I've ever heard in my life. It's probably in the top 3.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed. So we'll see how things develop.
So stop the 9/11 cover-up is, and the question is it a false flag?
Okay, so there's been a breakthrough in the 9/11 story. And this is something that has been lingering for many weeks, but is now sort of coming into view. So the question is it a false flag? So there hasn't, 22 years since 9/11, there's been no breakthroughs. And finally, we have something that looks like it could be significant. We'll see. So what happened here, These are basically the public defenders of the 9/11 suspects that are detained currently in Guantanamo Bay. And they're being defended by a Pentagon-appointed group of a committee of public defenders. It's called the Military Commission's Defense Organization. And so what have they unearthed here? So this is a court filing by the Guantanamo Military Commission, reveals possible CIA involvement in the violation of U.S. law in the 9/11 attacks. So the details are here. Nice Twitter thread here. All credit to the Mises caucus there, the Mises Institute. And so what are sort of the main points here? Look at this. So documents show a relationship between terrorists, Saudi intelligence services formed by the CIA with their officers through a group they call the Safari Club, a secret alliance of nations the CIA uses to conduct unlawful operations. And there's more. The CIA assigned officers, they had to find ways to blame the FBI for the attacks. The CIA tried to hide that they were aware of the relationships between the hijackers and Al-Qaeda because they were running a, quote, false flag operation. So you can see how this is getting into the gray areas here of clandestine tradecraft. Pretty fascinating, isn't it? But here's where it gets interesting. The UBL station was allegedly tasked with building informants inside Al-Qaeda, but it was ran in a way that would make that nearly impossible, possibly because analysts secretly already had men on the ground and were not disclosing it as part of a hidden operation, even within the CIA. So these are, cells within intelligence services here, the Russian doll syndrome. So despite outcry from the agencies at the station and an awareness of the danger to a, quote, stop, was not authorized to prevent the hijackers from entering the country. FBI command ordered agents to, quote, stand down in their investigations of the hijackers. So this is very similar to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing,
right,
which was exposed through with a confidential FBI informant. The bombs were supposed to be dummies. The FBI was managing the whole process along the way. So I see some overlap here. And so this is to me, very credible. This could very easily be spun into a little bit of a psyop, as the US government would like very much to cover this up or minimize what is being said here by the witnesses.
Right.
Okay. So this isn't a slam dunk. This is only a court filing. But I'm saying it's very revealing. We didn't show you all the details, by the way. Those are just some of the highlights. But it does corroborate things that we've said on this program and things that I myself have written about and other people have covered over the years. That is, this 9/11 had a U.S. intelligence clandestine element to it. And so that's not to say how 9/11 happened, how the Twin Towers came down. That's a separate conversation.
Right. We're
talking about these so-called Saudi hijackers. Now, who do they have in Gitmo, Mike? Obviously not the pilots flying the planes. So we're told. So not the hijackers themselves, but those who worked with them or their accomplices. So take that and sort of make a mental note of that, because that's may or may not be credible in some people's eyes, because how is this information, how have they gleaned it under duress, waterboarding? So it's early days. I think this is a significant opening, though, and certainly it's going to drive the conspiracy realms crazy.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on it then.